I never considered myself a paranoid person. Sure, I've had my doubts, like anyone else, but I always believed that if you've been married to someone for 9 years, if you're raising 2 kids together, if you've shared your most intimate thoughts, then you can trust that person not to betray you. Clearly, I was very wrong. My name is Ethan. I'm 38 years old and live in a suburb of Austin, Texas. I work as an engineer, and my now ex-wife, Sophie, worked in the marketing department of a large company. She had a stable job, a decent salary, and most importantly, she was passionate about what she did. I always supported her, even when she stayed late at the office, traveled to seminars, or met with clients. Trust, I believed, was the foundation of our marriage. We met 11 years ago at a mutual friend's birthday party. Sophie immediately caught my attention, smart, lively, with a great sense of humor. 2 years later, we got married. Then came our kids, a son and a daughter. Everything was going according to plan. We had our ups and downs, like any couple. But I thought we were making it through just fine. Over the past 6 months, though, I started to notice she'd become more distant. We used to talk about everything. Now she mostly gave short, clipped answers. She was on her phone more, always keeping the screen face down. At first, I brushed it off, maybe stress, maybe just tired. But then I started noticing something else. She kept mentioning her boss, Jared. Jared is so charismatic. Jared always knows how to motivate the team. Jared ordered us lunch today. I wasn't the jealous type. Really? So she mentioned him, so what? Until one day, she got an invite to a company party. Sophie was never big on office parties. Usually, she'd roll her eyes and say they were boring, people got drunk, not her thing. But this time, she lit up. She said, "This one's important." Jared personally asked everyone to come. There'll be live music, a buffet, a photo booth. I just smiled and said, "Have fun." She left in a new dress she had just bought the day before. Red, short, off the shoulder, the kind she usually wore only on our date nights. For confidence, she said. She came back close to 1 a.m., with wine in her voice and someone else's perfume on her skin. I joked, "Looks like it was a fun night?" She giggled and said, "Yeah, it was great. I'm beat, going to bed." And she went straight to the bathroom. And here's where it all started unraveling. I would have never found out if it wasn't for one of Sophie's coworkers, a woman named Linda. We'd met a few times at parties, nothing more. The day after the party, she posted an album on social media, with pictures from that very photo booth. I wasn't snooping. I was just scrolling. But I froze when I saw them. Sophie and Jared. She was sitting on his lap. He had his arm around her waist. She was laughing, her cheek pressed against his. The next photo, he was kissing her neck. No one, not even the most naive person on earth, could have looked at those pictures and called it friendly. Something twisted inside me, a ringing in my ears. It felt like the entire world shifted for a second. I don't remember how long I just stared at the screen. 10 minutes? Half an hour? Then I saved the pictures. And I started digging. I remembered how often she came home late, saying she was finishing reports. I remembered how a couple months ago she told me she was going to a conference in Dallas for 2 days, and when I tried calling her one night, her phone was off. I hadn't suspected anything then. But now, all the pieces fell into place. I didn't confront her right away. I wanted to be sure. You know that feeling when everything's already falling apart, but you're clinging to a tiny thread of hope? That maybe it's all a misunderstanding? That maybe you're wrong? I held on to that thread. I installed a keylogger on her laptop. I'm not proud of it, but at the time, it felt like the only way. 2 days later, I had the logs of her Slack messages and personal email exchanges with Jared. That was it. Everything was there. Messages like, "I miss you after the weekend. Last night was amazing. Can't wait for the next time." And his replies, "You brighten my days. I want you next to me every night." I almost threw up. This wasn't just flirting. This was a full-blown relationship. She was living with me, sleeping in our bed, tucking our kids in at night, and meeting up with a married man. Her boss, no less. Who, I later found out, had 3 kids of his own. And that's when I stopped thinking only about her. I started thinking about him. About how he dared to insert himself into my family. Into my life. He knew Sophie was married. Saw her wedding ring every day. But still, he crossed the line. I didn't scream. I didn't throw things. No, I planned. Coldly. Calmly. Methodically. After I read their messages, I sat in my car in front of the house for a long time. I just stared at the steering wheel. I wanted to scream, break something, drink myself into oblivion. But I made a choice to stay cold. For now, I knew that if I barged into the house and started yelling, she'd just cry, say it was a mistake, nothing serious. I was confused. Let's try to fix this. I didn't want to give her that chance. I wanted her to feel the consequences of her decisions. I wanted her to understand that betrayal isn't just a mistake. The next day, I acted as if nothing was wrong. Breakfast. A kiss on the cheek. The kids off to school. She didn't even notice how I was looking at her. But I noticed everything, how she texted him, how she smiled when his message popped up, how she pretended to check her work email. I kept collecting evidence. Took screenshots of their messages. Printed out the photos. Found Jared's social media. Found his wife, Caroline. 3 kids. A house in the suburbs. Active on Instagram. Family photos, the love of my life, lake trips. It almost broke me. Because I realized he was just like me. A family man. But with a rotten soul. I created a folder on Google Drive. I named it simply Proof. I uploaded everything. Screenshots, messages, photos from the party. And I sent the link to Caroline with a short message. Sorry to tell you this, but you deserve to know the truth about your husband. 2 hours later, she wrote me a long message. She was in shock, thanking me for my honesty, asking for permission to use the materials. I, of course, gave it to her. We exchanged messages. I didn't want to destroy her family, but, damn it, he destroyed mine. And I wasn't going to leave it unanswered. Then it was Sophie's turn. It was Friday evening. I waited until the kids were in bed. We sat at the kitchen table. I poured myself some whiskey, her some wine. She smiled like everything was fine. She even asked, "How was your week?" I looked her in the eye and calmly said, "How was yours? Did you have a good time with Jared?" She went pale. Stiffened. For a split second, I saw it all. I saw the fear. The panic. I don't understand what you're talking about. No need to. I know. I saw the photos. I read the messages. I heard the voice notes. Everything. I know everything, Sophie. She tried to fake tears. Reach for me. Please, Ethan, it was a mistake. It didn't mean anything. I was lost, but I raised my hand. Don't tell me you were lost when you were sleeping with your boss. You knew exactly what you were doing. Consciously. Purposefully. You destroyed our marriage for a corporate fling. She broke down in tears. Said it started by accident, that she needed attention, that he made her feel needed. All the classic excuses. All the textbook responses of a cheater. I listened. Silently. And said, I'm not living with you anymore. But that's not all. Jared will pay, too. She snapped out of it. What did you do? Me? Nothing. Yet. But his wife knows now. And on Monday, HR at your company will get an email with evidence of your relationship. Given that he's your boss and you violated the company's policy on workplace relationships, I think it'll have a serious impact on his career. She froze. Then she started begging. Please, don't. He'll lose everything. Just like I did, Sophie. Just like our kids. Did you think about that when you crawled into his bed? On Monday morning, I sent an anonymous email to HR at her company with all the same evidence. And yes, they cared. A week later, Jared was suspended, and 2 weeks after that, fired. They brought in someone else to replace him. Sophie left voluntarily. Well, actually, they gently pushed her out to avoid any fuss. Caroline kicked Jared out of the house. Started divorce proceedings. From what I understand, he's now living with his brother. I'd be lying if I said I didn't feel some satisfaction. As for Sophie, everything was clear. I filed for divorce. She begged for a chance. Cried in front of the kids. Wrote long letters. Parents on both sides tried to make us reconcile. But I was firm. I would never trust her again. I could never look at her and not remember what she did. We divorced 2 months later. The kids stay with us alternately. I try to be their stability, their support, their honesty, the things that were missing in our marriage. A lot of me died that day when I saw that photo. But, something was also born. I realized that a man's worth isn't in how he forgives, but in how he doesn't let himself be trampled on. He doesn't let his love become a doormat. I'm not that naive Ethan anymore. And, damn it, thank God for that. It's been 8 months since Sophie and I divorced. Sometimes, I wake up in the morning, and for a few seconds, it feels like everything is the same. The sound of kids laughing from the kitchen, the smell of coffee, the rustling of her slippers on the floor. But then reality crashes in like a train without brakes. And once again, an empty bed. Just me. Just silence. At first, it was hard. Very hard. I won't lie and say I was a hero. There were nights when I drank myself into oblivion. When I sat in the dark and rewatched photos from our family trips. When I asked myself those stupid questions. Where did I go wrong? What did I miss? Why did she choose him? But you know what helped? The answer I gave myself. I'm not to blame. Because I was who I was supposed to be. I loved, I worked, I cared, I was there. It was her choice that destroyed our marriage. Not mine. With the kids, we set up a schedule, 1 week with me, 1 week with her. At first, it was hard for them. Especially my son, who's 10. He closed himself off. He stopped talking about his mom. Sometimes he asked why she moved out. I couldn't tell him the whole truth. I didn't want them to hate their mother. She's still their mom. I just said, sometimes grown-ups make mistakes. And they can't always fix everything. But we both love you, and that's the most important thing. He just nodded. I don't know if he understood completely. But at least he stopped shutting himself off. With my daughter, it's a little easier. She's 7. She still draws our family in one picture, like nothing has changed. Maybe that's good. Maybe, in time, she'll understand everything on her own. In her own rhythm. As for Sophie, we almost don't talk. Only about the kids. Coldly. Emotionlessly. No tears or reproaches, just facts, schedules, logistics. Sometimes, I catch her gaze when she brings the kids to me. There's regret. Or pain. Maybe shame. I don't know. And I don't want to know. Once, she said, "You've changed." I replied, "And you've become real." She didn't say anything. Sometimes, friends message me, "You're great. How did you endure all of this?" You did the right thing not forgiving her. You made her feel the consequences. I'm grateful for their support. But you know what I don't tell them? That I'm not proud of it. I just didn't have a choice. I'm not made of steel. I would have liked to forgive. I would have liked for it all to have been a dream. To wake up, turn to her, and say, let's start over. But I can't. Because there's a crack inside me. And it won't heal. Recently, I started seeing a woman named Julia. We met by chance. She works at the local library, where I took my daughter. We struck up a conversation. She divorced 2 years ago, also because of infidelity. We didn't get close right away. We were both afraid to trust. But with her, it's easy. She doesn't try to heal me. She doesn't pressure me or demand anything. She's just there. Sometimes, we sit in silence, holding hands. And in that silence, there's more meaning than all the words I've heard from Sophie over the past few years. I don't know what's next. Maybe nothing. Or maybe everything. But now, I live consciously. Without illusions. With my eyes wide open. Recently, Sophie wrote me late at night, "Forgive me. I don't know what happened to me back then. If I could turn back time, I didn't reply. Sometimes, forgiveness isn't words. It's the decision to never return to the place where you were betrayed. I'm not vengeful. I'm not angry. I've just learned to choose myself.